Good day everyone, I am Jonathan Dagami, your instructor in Understanding the Self. So today I will just give a recapitulation for our lesson, particularly in Module 1, which is the coverage for our midterm examination next week. So Module 1 is entitled The Self from Various Perspectives. So the Self can be explained into 4 different perspectives. The first one is philosophical perspective. Okay, the Self according to philosophers. The second is sociological perspective. The Self according to human interactions and institutions. Ibig sabihin dito, yung self natin is a product of our social interactions in the society and then the institutions that we have. And then the third one is anthropological perspective. Ibig sabihin lang nito is our self is a product of our culture and the community where we belong. The last one is psychological perspective. The self according to behaviors and cognitive processes. Pag sinabing cognitive, ito yung mga iniisip natin. Lahat ng parte sa mind, nagpo-fall yon sa psychological perspective. So, bago tayo mag-discuss sa philosophical perspective, let us define first what is philosophy. So, philosophy is coined by Pythagoras. Its etymology is Pelos plus Sophia. Pag sinabing Pelos, it means friend, lover, or love. And Sophia, it means wisdom. So, philosophy means lover of wisdom or love of wisdoms. Okay, so philosophy, it desires to find the truth and ultimate causes of things. Dito, we find the meaning and purpose of our existence. And the self is of particular interest of philosophers. Okay, so let us start muna sa ancient period. Yung keyword na ginamit natin is pa, si Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Trivia lang ulit, si Socrates, siya yung teacher ni Plato. Si Plato, teacher ni Aristotle. So, si Aristotle, estudyante siya ni Plato. The first philosopher is Socrates. So, sabi ni Socrates, an unexamined life is not worth living. Bakit kaya? Bakit niya sinabi to? So, mamaya malalaman natin yung sagot. So, para kay Socrates, yung reality daw is divided into two dichotomous realms. Una ay ang physical realm. Pag sinabing physical realm, it is something changeable, transient. Pag sinabing transient, it does not exist in a very long period of time. So, hindi siya eternal. And then, yung physical realm daw is imperfect. And then, sabi ni Socrates, yung body daw is part of the physical realm. So, ibig sabihin, yung body natin ay imperfect. Kapag mamatay tayo, yung body natin is nagdi-decay. Namamatay na siya habang buhay. Hindi na siya babalik. And then, the second realm is the ideal realm. Pag sinabi nating ideal realm, it is something unchangeable, eternal, and perfect. Dito naman, nabibilong yung soul. So, ibig sabihin, yung soul, it can live eternally. Kasi nga, yung ideal realm, it is eternal and perfect. Okay, so the body and soul are separate entities. Kasi yung body belong siya sa physical realm, yung soul naman is belong sa ideal realm. Ibig sabihin, when the body dies, the soul remains. Kasi yung soul, it will remain kasi nga eternal siya, perfect siya, part siya ng ideal soul. And sabi pa ni Socrates, yung soul daw natin is yun yung self natin. The soul is the self. And the soul in its nature is striving for perfection and freedom. So, ngayon, since the soul is tied to the body, buhay pa kasi tayo. So, yung soul natin, nasa body pa natin. So, how can it achieve wisdom? Paano niya ma-achieve yung perfect state niya? So, sabi ni Socrates, we just need to use reason and reflection. Meron siyang tinatawag na dialectic method. Pag sinabi nating dialectic method, you know yourself by talking to yourself. You have to examine yourself for you to know your purpose and value. Dito, through the process of dialectic method, malalaman natin yung true self natin. Ano ba yung purpose natin? Ano ba yung value natin as a person? Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng good life? And there, you could say that your life is worth living. Kasi nga, na-examine na natin yung life natin. Naintindihan? Kaya nga sinabi ni Socrates na an unexamined life is not worth living. Kaya yung gagawin natin, kailangan natin gamitin yung reason and reflection para ma-achieve natin yung perfect state natin. Gumamit tayo ng dialectic method. Kausapin natin yung sarili natin for us to achieve our perfect state. Para masabi natin na yung life natin is something worth living. Okay, sino yung next philosophers pa? The next is Plato. Si Plato naman is isang idealist. Pag sinabing idealist, naniniwala sila sa philosophy ng idealism. Na kung ano yung mga ideas, ano yung naiisip natin, yun yung totoo. Naintindihan? Pag sinabing idealist, idealism, kung ano yung nasa utak natin, ano yung mga iniisip natin, yun yung realidad. And si Plato, naniniwala din sa dalawang realms. Una yung physical realm. Same kay Socrates, sabi ni Plato, yung physical realm is not the real world. Ito ay composed of material things. Pero, yung physical realm daw are just shadows or image of true reality. Ano yung true reality according to Plato? Ito naman yung realm of the forms. Ito yung real world. And then, yung physical realm, reflection lang siya ng realm of the forms. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabing reflection, hindi totoo. Reflection lang. It is not the real world. Kaya yung physical realm, it is changing and imperfect. Pag sinabi natin realm of the forms, yan yung totoong world. Ito ay perfect and unchanging. Binubuo ito ng mga concepts, mga ideas, mga ideals, for example, beauty, roundness, and goodness. And then the soul is part of the world of forms. Again, naniniwala din si Plato na may dalawang realms, yung physical which is not the real world and then the realm of the forms which is the real world. Yung realm of the forms, nagre-reflect siya sa physical realm. So, ibig sabihin yung physical realm, reflection lang siya ng realm of the forms. So, si Plato naniniwala siya sa tripartite soul. Ibig sabihin, yung soul has 3 parts. Una, yung spiritual soul. Pag sinabing spiritual soul, ito yung feelings and emotions. Halimbawa, empathy, anger, love, at marami pang iba. Pag sinabing appetitive soul, remember, ito yung bodily desires. Nakapaloob dito yung hunger, overeating, drinking, thirst, as well as sexual desires. Remember, overeating and drinking. Yun yung keyword sa appetitive soul, appetite, bodily desires. The last one is the rational soul. Ito naman yung reason and logic. Ito yung part ng soul that capable of thinking and reflecting. Sabi ni Plato, ito naman yung superior. Ito yung true self natin. Again, the rational soul is superior and it is our true self. So, to achieve our ideal self, sabi ni Plato, we must let our rational soul control our appetitive and spiritual soul. Kasi nga, yan yung superior, yan yung true self natin. Thus, our mind must be above our heart and body. Yung last philosopher under the ancient period is si Aristotle. So, si Aristotle, isa siyang realist. Pag sinabi namang realist, naniniwala siya na kung ano yung nakikita natin sa mundo, ano yung nakapalibot sa atin, yung mga bagay na makikita natin sa paligid natin, yun ay totoo. So, ibig sabihin, the physical world is also real according to Aristotle. The world we are living right now is also real. So, naniniwala naman si Aristotle that the self is composed of body and soul, that the two are inseparable. Pag sinabing inseparable, hindi sila mapapaghiwalay. They are not separate entities, contrary to the idea of Socrates and then Plato. So, si Aristotle, mako-considered siya na para siyang suwail na estudyante. Kasi nga, iba yung philosophy niya compared sa mga teacher niya na sina Socrates and then Plato. Okay. When the body dies, the soul also dies. Kasi nga, inseparable sila. Kapag mamatay yung body, patay din yung soul kasi magkasama sila. For Aristotle, all living beings have souls. Then, it follows that plants and animals have souls too. Hindi lang yung humans, pati yung plants and animals may souls daw sila. Kaya, si Aristotle, dinistinguish niya, may dinistinguish siya na 3 levels of soul. May 3 levels of soul daw. Una yung vegetative, pangalawa yung sensitive, followed by rational soul. Pag sinabing vegetative, from the word vegetatives, malamang ito yung plants. According to Aristotle, plants daw have souls because they have the capacity to grow, reproduce, and feed itself. Feed itself through the process of photosynthesis. Pag sinabing sensitive souls, ito naman yung mga animals. Animals have souls because they can grow, reproduce, and feed themselves. But unlike vegetative souls, sensitive souls are capable of sensation. They have senses. They have sense of sight, sense of touch, sense of hearing, and others. Okay, rational souls naman, ito yung humans. Bakit yung humans nasa rational soul? Pag sinabi natin rational soul, we are capable of thinking and reflecting. So, yung humans, they are capable of growing, reproducing, feed themselves, and feel. But unlike the sensitive souls and rational souls, or the plants and animals, we are capable of thinking. Sabi ko na nga kanina, rational means we are capable of thinking. So, according to Aristotle, this highest level of soul is present only in humans. We are rational animals. Pag sinabing rational, we are capable of explaining and capable of reasoning out. We are capable to reason out. Okay, let us move to medieval period or the Middle Ages. Yung keyword natin is at. Letter A, si Augustine of Hippo, and letter T, si Thomas Aquinas. So, ano ba yung concept na pinaniniwalaan ni Augustine of Hippo? So, he believes in the concept of privation. Pag sinabing privation, it is the existence of things which may not be really existing. For example, is darkness, coldness, and evil. So, naniniwala si Augustine of Hippo that darkness does not really exist, but it is a privation of light. Meron lang darkness or kadiliman kasi merong absence of light. Walang light, kaya nagkakaroon ng darkness. Pag sinabing coldness, it is a privation of warmth or heat. Pag sinabing evil, privation yun ng privation ng good. May masama kasi walang mabuti. Naintindihan? Privation, existence of things which may not be really existing. Okay. So, sabi ni Augustine of Hippo, there will be a point in our life that we feel empty inside. Sabi niya, siya mismo ay naka-feel ng emptiness. At yung ginawa niya, hinanap niya yung source of fulfillment para mawala yung emptiness na nafe-feel niya. Pag sinabing emptiness, privation yon ng happiness. Naka-feel siya ng emptiness kasi walang happiness. However, when he found his source of fulfillment, which is God, he got converted to Christianity and realizes that his ultimate source of joy is God. So, ano yung ginawa niya? Nag-pray siya and he had a life of holiness. He got closer to God, who feels the emptiness inside him. Okay, naintindihan? Again, yung concept lang ni Augustine of Hippo, privation, existence of things which may not be really existing. Okay. Si Thomas Aquinas naman, yung concept niya is essence and purpose. When we say essence is something that makes a thing what it is. Ano ba yung bumubuo sa isang bagay? For example, is yung ballpen. Ano ba yung bumubuo sa ballpen? Merong lalagyan, merong ink. Yung upuan, merong upuan, literal, merong upuan din, sandigan. So, yun yung essence ng mga bagay. Madali lang mahanap. Pero, sabi ni Thomas Aquinas, yung essence daw ng tao is complicated. Kasi nga, mahirap. Iba-iba yung essence ng tao because we have different experiences. Hindi ibig sabihin na yung essence natin may kamay tayo, may ulo tayo. Hindi ganon. Hindi katulad sa mga bagay. Kasi, sabi ni Thomas Aquinas, humans exist first and then they create essence through their choices and actions. So, yung choices and actions, nagdi-differentiate dito. Iba-iba yung choices natin sa buhay, iba-iba yung actions natin. So, ibig sabihin, yung essence natin, iba-iba. So, Aquinas suggests that we may better understand our essence if we know our purpose. Mas maintindihan daw natin yung essence natin kung malaman muna natin yung purpose natin. So, what is purpose naman? Pag sinabing purpose, it means the reason why a particular thing exists. Ano ba yung reason? Bakit nag-i-exist tayo? So, according to Aquinas, everything in the world has a purpose. Kahit nga daw yung cockroach may purpose din. It's a carrier for decomposing bacteria. So, knowing your essence and purpose will make you realize what is essential in your life. Ano ba yung mga kailangan mo versus what you want. That way, you become a better self-reflecting individual in society. And according to Thomas Aquinas, meron daw tayong shared purpose. Pag sinabing shared purpose, lahat tayo merong ganito. Yung shared purpose daw of humanity or humans is to glorify God. Again, yung shared purpose natin is to glorify God. Okay, let us move to Renaissance period or pag sinabing Renaissance period, rebirth. Okay, yung keyword natin is FRT. Francis Bacon, René Descartes, and then Thomas Hobbes. So, unahin natin si Francis Bacon. Yung concept niya is inductive method. Pag sinabing inductive method, not jumping to conclusions without evidences, specific to general. Okay, so hindi ka maniniwala agad, hindi ka magkukonclude agad sa isang bagay kapag walang binigay na ebidensya. For example, kapag sinabihan ka na ang bobo mo, sa simula, hindi ka muna maniniwala. Magagather ka muna ng evidences na magpapatunay na hindi ka bobo or kung bobo ka talaga. Pero, hindi ka muna maniniwala. You will collect evidences muna. Kasi yun yung process ng inductive method. Hindi ka hindi ka magkukonclude agad kung walang evidences. In other terms, yung inductive method, it means it is the way of attaining certainty, kasiguraduhan, through a careful process of investigation and experimentation. Pag may word na investigation, experimentation, lahat yon ay inductive method. Okay. Yung concept naman ni René Descartes is Cartesian doubt or doubt. Para daw ma-attain natin yung certainty in life, kailangan mag-doubt tayo. You know yourself by doubting everything you know about yourself in the past. Kailangan nating mag-doubt. Kailangan nating i-question yung mga experiences natin para makasigurado tayo kung ano tayo. Again, ano yung concept ni René Descartes? Doubt. Pag sinabing doubt, concept yun ni René Descartes. Okay, wag na nating pahabain. Kasi review na lang to. Pag sinabing si Thomas Hobbes naman, yung concept niya is selfish human nature. Lahat daw ng tao ay selfish in nature. Lahat tayo may selfishness. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na may selfishness tayo, masama tayo. Nagsiset lang tayo ng certain limitations. Kasi nga, may dadating yung araw na baka i-abuse tayo ng mga taong malapit sa atin. Kaya mas kailangan mag-build tayo ng limitation. Somehow, selfishness, hindi siya masama. Kasi inuuna natin yung sarili nating kapakanan. Okay, let us move forward to the modern period in the contemporary world. Okay, so bago tayo mag-introduce ng mga philosophers under the modern period, okay, yung gagawin muna natin is let us define first what is existentialism. So, sa modern period, yung existentialism, ito yung philosophy na pinaniniwalaan nila. Okay, existentialism, existence of the individual person as a free and responsible agent determining their own development. So, ano yung ibig sabihin nun? That as humans, as individuals, we are capable, we are free, we are capable of making our own choices. There are no limitations. Wala dapat limitations kasi nga meron tayong freedom. Yun yung paniniwala ng existentialism. Itong philosophy na ito again, naniniwala that humans are free and responsible agent who can determine their own development. May kakayahan tayo, may kalayaan tayo na mag-determine ng fate natin sa buhay, mga decisions natin sa life. Existentialism, parang freedom, no limitations, no burden, walang sagabal. Okay, so yung unang follower ng existentialism ay si Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre, not Sartre. Okay, so sabi ni Sartre, to become an authentic person, being an authentic person is the goal of existentialism. Pero paano tayo magiging authentic? Paano tayo magiging totoo? Ano ba yung authentic? Ano ba yung ibig sabihin nito in the concept of existentialism? So, naniniwala si Jean-Paul Sartre na yung pagiging authentic is, ito yung dito, someone is truly free. Malaya tayo. We have freedom. We have the freedom to decide kung ano yung gusto natin sa buhay natin. Kasi nga, si Jean-Paul Sartre, naniniwala siya sa philosophy ng existentialism that humans are capable of making their own choices. So, become an authentic daw, dapat true to himself or herself. Dapat totoo tayo, hindi tayo nagpapanggap, hindi tayo nagpa-follow sa mga belief lang kung ano yung nakasulat ng mga batas. Kailangan maging agent tayo ng sarili nating life. We are the creator, we are agents of our own life. Sabi din dito, our life must be consistent with our beliefs. Dapat yung mga ginagawa natin consistent sa paniniwala natin, hindi sa paniniwala ng iba. Okay, to become an authentic, someone must walks the talk. Pag sinabing walks the talk, kung ano yung sinasabi mo, ano yung iniisip mo, ginagawa mo yon. Hindi mo lang sinasabi, dapat ina-apply mo sa totoong buhay. Okay, forward. Next philosopher under the modern period is si Soren Kierkegaard. So, yung concept lang niya is leap of faith. Pag sinabing leap of faith, it is the act of believing something despite the lack of proof. So, naniniwala ka kahit wala namang matibay na ebidensya. So, parang yung leap of faith, parang siyang metaphor. Yung ibig sabihin niya is jumping, literal na jumping, parang nag-jump ka from another idea to another idea, from another stair to another stair. Okay, so ayon kay Soren Kierkegaard, may 3 stages. Okay, una yung static stage. Pag sinabing static stage, dito yung mga humans, they enjoy pleasures. For example, pumupunta sa mga party, nagsisigarilyo, they enjoy pleasures of life. Okay, keyword pleasures. And then, the next stage is ethical stage. Okay, balik tayo sa aesthetic stage. Pag sinabing pleasures, pwede dito, halimbawa natin is kapag nagsashabu ka. Diba? Bawal na gamot, shabu. Okay, so lilipat ka sa ethical stage. So, ano yung nangyari? Sa ethical stage naman, nagkakaroon ng consciousness about the people and set of rules. Set of rules, pag sinabing set of rules, ito yung mga batas ng bansa, laws. So, dati, kung sa aesthetic stage, nagsashabu ka, dito naman sa ethical stage, hindi ka na magsashabu kasi nga naging conscious ka na sa set of rules, sa mga batas. So, ano yung ginawa mo? Yung possible na gagawin mo is nagpaparehab ka na. Okay. So, yung last stage is religious stage. Pag sinabing religious stage naman, ito yung belief in a higher being. Kung sa ethical stage, naniniwala ka sa mga batas, sinusunod mo yung batas ng gobyerno, dito sa religious stage naman, you believe in a higher being, in a supreme being. For example, sa Christianity, naniniwala tayo in Jesus Christ. Okay, so sabi ni Soren Kierkegaard, yung transition from ethical to religious stage is mahirap daw. Hindi siya easy kasi nga decision mo naman na maniwala in a supreme being. Okay, so sabi dito, we need to have a leap of faith to reach the religious self. Okay, so yung transition from ethical to religious, parang magkakaroon ng leap of faith, parang magja-jump ka, parang mahirap talaga yung transition from ethical to religious religious stage. Kasi sinabi ni Soren Kierkegaard, we need to have a leap of faith to reach the religious stage or our religious self. Okay, understood? Okay, next, philosopher, another existentialist, I see Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche, not Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. So, ano naman yung pinaniniwalaan ni Friedrich Nietzsche? So, naniniwala naman siya sa eternal recurrence. Eternal, habang buhay, recurrence, paulit-ulit. Eternal recurrence, nauulit lang daw yung cycle paulit-ulit lang yung cycle. The cycle repeats from stage 1 to stage 4, from stage 4 to stage 1, paulit-ulit lang. Okay, to become an authentic person, naniniwala si Friedrich Nietzsche na to become an authentic person, one needs to go beyond good and evil. Okay, pag sinabi natin go beyond good and evil, connected siya sa concept ng existentialism. Kasi nga, isang existentialism Nietzsche. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng go beyond good and evil? As individuals, we are nga capable of making our own choices. Yung ibig sabihin lang naman nung go beyond good and evil, libro to ha, ni Friedrich Nietzsche. Yung paniniwala niya kasi na yung tao, hindi dapat tayo magdepende sa mga batas ng gobyerno, sa mga nakasulat sa libro, sa mga religion. Kailangan mag-go beyond tayo sa mga nakasulat na mga batas, sa mga paniniwala. Kailangan as humans, naniniwala siya na meron tayong kakayahan na mag-create ng sarili nating batas, sarili nating paniniwala as individuals. Kasi nga, Nietzsche is an existentialist. Naniniwala siya that humans they can create their own choices in life. They are free. Okay. So, balik tayo sa eternal recurrence. So, yung eternal recurrence, meron sila ditong huge dragon. Pag sinabing huge dragon, sinisimbolize nito yung loss of society and religion. Ito yung mga batas ng gobyerno. And ito yung religion. Ito yung, for example, Christianity, Islam, lahat ito, huge dragon, sinusymbolize siya ng huge dragon, yung mga batas na kasulat sa scale ng huge dragon. Okay, yung first stage is yung camel. Pag sinabing camel, follower ka lang. Ibig sabihin you are a mere follower of these laws. Pina-follow mo yung huge dragon. And then, next stage is yung lion, or pag sinabing lion, conqueror. Dito naman, you abandon or question your faith. So, ano yung gagawin mo kapag you abandon or question your faith? Papatayin mo dito yung huge dragon kasi nga, yung lion is conqueror. You abandon and question your faith. Pag sinabing abandon, pinatay mo na yung dragon. Iniwan mo na yung faith, yung mga batas na nakasulat sa scale ng dragon. Okay, hindi pa naman siya last. The next stage is child or creator. So, dito naman, naniniwala si Friedrich Nietzsche na hindi sapat na inabandon lang or question lang natin yung huge dragon, yung mga batas. Hindi lang sapat na pinatay natin. Kailangan maging creator tayo or child. Dito naman, we can create our own rules. As individuals, pwede tayo mag-create ng ating mga batas. Sarili nating batas. Hindi dapat tayo nagpa-follow na sa huge dragon na merong mga batas of society, laws of society and religion. Ngayon, contrary, na meron tayong sinusunod, yung sinusunod naman natin sa under the child kasi creator na tayo, yung sarili nating batas. Okay, one day, we will grow and once we actualize our fullest potentials or our potentials, we become an Übermensch. Magiging Übermensch tayo once we actualize our fullest potentials. However, when you get too comfortable, maging complacent ka sa pagiging Übermensch, babalik ka sa unang stage. So, ano yung unang stage? Sa camel. So, magiging camel ka again kung maging too much comfortable ka sa pagiging Übermensch. Okay, last sa modern period. Yung last existentialist ay si Martin Heidegger. So, ano yung paniniwala niya? Naniniwala siya sa Dasein. Pag sinabing Dasein, this means being in itself, pagiging ikaw, being thrown in the world, itinapon ka sa mundo, or only as being. Okay, yung first concept is being thrown in the world. Tinapon daw tayo sa mundo. So, yung ibig sabihin lang naman nito is things that are not products of your choices. Merong mga bagay nung pinanganak tayo na hindi naman natin choice. For example, is yung parents natin, hindi naman natin choice na sila yung parents natin. Hindi natin choice yung mga kapatid natin. Hindi natin choice yung culture natin, yung religion natin, yung gender natin. Lahat yun, hindi natin choice. Lahat yon concept ng being thrown in the world. However, we must learn to embrace our thrownness. Remember this word, thrownness. Ano yung gagawin natin para maging authentic person? We must learn to embrace our thrownness. Yung pagiging, the way we are, the way we are thrown in the world, we must embrace it. Yung mga bagay na kailangan natin i-embrace. Yung mga bagay na hindi naman natin inas, kailangan pa rin natin i-embrace yon. Kasi part yon ng identity natin as a human beings. Kaya sabi niya, we must learn to embrace our thrownness. Thrownness. Okay, next concept is being in itself. Pag sinabing being in itself, pagiging ikaw. You make your own choices. Okay. Part to ng existentialism. Make your own choices. We are separate individual apart from everyone. Okay, so dito, yung concept lang dito, we are separate individual. Ikaw ay ikaw, yung mama mo, yung papa mo, yung sibling mo, yung kaklase mo. So, yung concept lang ng being in itself, maging ikaw, maging totoo ka. Wala dapat magiging controller ng life mo kasi nga you are a separate individual. Okay, yung last concept is being unto death. From the word death, we are born to die. Simple lang, wag na nating pahabain. Okay. Okay, sa last, additional lang to. After the modern period, yung Eastern or Oriental thoughts on the self. Pag sinabing Eastern part of the world, Asia. Okay, sino yung mga philosophers dito, yung mga tao under the Eastern Oriental thoughts on the self? Una ay si Siddhartha Gautama. So, sino si Siddhartha Gautama? Si Siddhartha Gautama, naniniwala siya that there is so much suffering in the world. Merong pagdudusa, merong sufferings na nararanasan yung mga tao. For example, is poverty, mga sakit, lahat yun ay suffering. Okay, so si Siddhartha Gautama is isa siyang mayaman. Yung pamilya niya is nasa palas. Sana, pinapamana na sana yung ari-arian sa kanya, pero ni-reject niya. Ano yung ginawa niya? Naglayas siya. Living his luxurious life in an Indian palace. Ano yung ginawa niya? He sought inner peace through meditation. Ano yung ginawa niya? Nag-meditate siya until he reached the point of nirvana. Pag sinabi nating nirvana, it is the highest form of enlightenment. Okay, para siyang, kung sa Christianity, yung concept natin is heaven, yung place naman nila, or state of being is yung nirvana. Ito yung pinaka-highest form of enlightenment. Ito yung pinaka-goal nila makapunta or ma-reach yung highest form of enlightenment, which is nga nirvana. Okay, so paano natin ma-reach yung nirvana? How do we achieve it? Sabi ni Gautama, ma-achieve natin yung nirvana in the concept of Buddhism when we give up riches in life and moderating our needs. Okay, so hindi dapat tayo maging gahaman. Sa middle line lang, maging moderate tayo sa mga bagay-bagay. So, yung giving up riches in life and moderating your needs, konsepto ng middle way. Sa middle line lang, wag maging gahaman. Okay, middle way, it is an act of avoiding the extremes. Wag yung sobra-sobra. Kailangan magkaroon tayo ng limitations. Sa middle way lang, kaya nga sa gitna lang, wag sobra, wag namang kulang, sa middle lang. Kaya sabi dito, again, remember, pag sinabing middle way, avoiding the extremes. Yung mga sobra-sobra, yung mga kalabisan, hindi dapat tayo ganon. Yun yung concept ng middle way. And then remember, may suffering daw sa mundo. Then ano yung ginawa ni Siddhartha Gautama? Naglayas siya, iniwan niya yung luxurious life. Din nag-decide siya na i-reach yung nirvana, nag-meditate siya until he reached the highest form of enlightenment or a place or state of being. Yung nirvana nga, place yan or state of being. Okay. Okay, so Siddhartha Gautama naniniwala siya that we can end our suffering by following the Noble Eightfold Path or the Eightfold Path. Una yung right view. I like the view. Okay, joke lang ha. Pag sinabing right view, having this will help us understand things and having a sense of appreciation. Kaya nga, right view. Having an understanding and sense of appreciation. May right view ka, may proper understanding of things na mga nangyayari sa mundo. Naintindihan? Next is right intention. Meron kang right intention, committing to a lifestyle of self-improvement and ethical conduct. So, yung mga ginagawa natin, yung intention natin, dapat nakaka-contribute sa self-improvement natin. And then, we have to make sure that it is ethical. It is morally right. Okay? Okay, right speech, abstaining from thoughtless words. So, bawal mag-swear. Right action, dapat yung ginagawa natin, hindi dapat nakaka-harm to anyone. Right livelihood, dapat yung source of income natin is hindi nagkakos ng harm. Right effort, development of wholesome qualities. Pag sinabing wholesome qualities, ito yung mga gandang qualities. For example, love and kindness. Dapat magkaroon tayo ng effort na magkaroon ng mga ganitong qualities. Next is right mindfulness. Pag sinabing right mindfulness, diligently aware, mindful, and attentive with regard to the activities. Dapat maging mindful tayo sa mga ginagawa natin. Okay, right concentration. In the idea of Buddhism, it is focused meditation. Okay, next, philosopher. Philosopher naman considered to. Si Confucius, yung religion niya is Confucianism. So, anong bansa galing si Confucius? Galing siya ng China. Okay, so si Confucius, he lived during the warring states period of China. So, di ba, merong iba't ibang dynasty noong unang panahon ng China. So, si Confucius, nakatira siya sa Zhou dynasty. And then, during that time, maraming gulo, maraming war, maraming nag-aaway-away, maraming namamatay. So, kaya sinabi ni Confucius, to create a strong nation, the foundation of society start by developing virtues. Para magkaroon tayo ng strong nation, kailangan yung society magkaroon ng virtues. Pag sinabing virtues, morally good behaviors in individual. Kailangan yung ginagawa natin is morally upright. Yung mga gandang behaviors lang. Iwasan natin yung mga masasama kasi hindi tayo magkakaroon ng strong nation. Ito yung concept ni Confucius. Okay, so si Confucius, he believes that we can take care of ourselves by becoming an ethical person and responsible citizen. Ethical person and responsible citizen. Mas maalagaan daw natin yung sarili natin kapag maging ethical tayo and responsible. Tama nga naman. Kasi nga, kung hindi tayo maging ethical and responsible citizen, baka mapariwara tayo, maging bad person tayo. So, yung concept ni Confucius, familiar na kayo dito, yung golden rule, do not do unto others what you would not want others to do unto you. Huwag mong gawin yung mga bagay na ayaw mo namang gawin sa'yo. Okay, naintindihan? Okay, now we will move to another perspective, which is the self in sociological perspective. Okay, let us define first what is sociology. Bilisan na lang natin to. Sociology, it is the study or it is concerned with the complex web of human social relationships. Okay. And then it answers the question how institution and societal or social structures affect people's personal lives. Okay, di ba yung society is composed of different groups. It's composed of families, school, offices, different organization, different group of people. So, lahat ng ito, lahat ng grupo, lahat ng institution, they can affect people's personal lives. Okay, so ang yung idea lang sa sociology, self is a product of social interaction. Bunga daw tayo ng the way we interact with other people. Okay, so in UTS, sociology will focus on symbolic interactionist paradigm. Ito yung micro, theory under sociology. Pero bago yan, i-discuss ko muna yung mga macro-sociological theories. Una na dyan yung structural functionalism. So, yung idea lang ng structural functionalism is that it looks at how all structures or institutions in society work together. Yung ibig sabihin nun, meron daw iba't ibang institutions sa society natin at lahat yon may function. For example, is yung Department of Education. Ano yung function niya? Yung magbigay ng education sa mga kabataan. Yung Department of Agriculture, meron siyang function. Siya yung naka-assign sa crop production. Yung ekonomiya, yung economy. Yung government, lahat may function. And they work together for the society to survive. It sees society as a living organism with different parts. Sabi ko nga, yung society parang living organism with different parts. Yung different parts dito, yung different institution. Composed tayo ng different institution at bawat institution may function. That, yung function na to, yung bawat institution, they support the whole structure. Meron silang ambag. Naintindihan? Okay, yung next naman is yung conflict theory. Pag sinabing conflict theory, yung proponent dito si Karl Marx. Yung idea lang dito, it argues that the changes that occurred in the society are products of the clashing of two or more social classes. Okay, yung mga pagbabago daw na nangyayari sa society natin ay result siya ng away or clashing of two or more social classes. So, sa theory ng conflict theory, may dalawang grupo. Yung bourgeoisie, which are the rich people, and then the proletariat. Ito naman yung mga lower income class. So, ito yung nag-aaway, yung mga bourgeoisie, and then mga proletariat. Then, yung pag-clash nila, nag-create ng mga changes. Anong mga changes na ito? Pwedeng changes sa economy, the prices, the benefits that should be given, the benefits that should be given in a certain place, in a certain community. Yun yung idea ng conflict theory. Meron lang clashing of two or more social classes, kaya meron mga pagbabagong nagaganap. Okay, now the focus of sociological perspective is symbolic interactionism. Pag sinabing symbolic interactionism, our interaction with other people shapes our identity. We attach meaning to things and people. So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang tayo nag-a-attach ng meaning sa mga bagay, pati rin sa mga tao. Okay, for example, our family, it is a symbol. Yung meaning na in-attach natin doon is symbol of love. For example, sa things naman sa cellphone, yung in-attach na meaning mo is yung lifeline mo. Yun yung parang nagsisave sa'yo. Yung parating nandyan para sa'yo. Okay, ano ba yung mga assumption ng symbolic interactionism? Yung assumption niyan is we act based on the meanings we attach to things. And then the second one, each one of us attaches different meanings to things. For example, is yung tattoo. Iba-iba yung kahulugan doon. Pwedeng symbol of love, pwedeng addict ka, pwedeng sign of, expressing art, expression of art, I mean. Okay, so iba-iba yung meaning na ina-attach natin sa mga bagay. Kasi nga, iba-iba yung perspective natin, or perspective. And then, these meanings can change over time. For example, kung yung sa una, yung meaning mo sa tattoo, sa pagkakaroon ng tattoo is addict, pwede sa pagdating ng panahon, or after many years, magbago yung meaning na inattach mo. Baka ikaw after 10 years, may tattoo ka na. Baka yung ibig sabihin mo na ng may tattoo is symbol of love, or baka sign of art or expression of art. Naintindihan? So, pwedeng magbago yung meaning na inattach natin sa mga bagay or sa mga tao. For example, yung mga kaibigan mo ngayon, yung meaning na inattach mo sa kanila ay very important people. Sila yung mga kaagapay mo, pero pagdating ng panahon, iniwan ka mag-isa, then naging magkaaway kayo. So, nag-iba yung meaning na inattach mo sa kanila. Naging kaaway mo. Kung dati, kaibigan, ngayon, kaaway na. Okay. Let's skip this. Okay, looking glass self. Pag sinabing looking glass self, yung proponent dito si Cooley. So, yung idea lang ng looking glass self is that I am who I think you think I am. So, iniisip mo yung iniisip ng iba, then yun yung pinaniniwalaan mo. Para kang delusional. Kahit wala namang proof, kahit hindi naman talaga sinabi, parang binasa mo lang yung utak ng isang tao, then yung yung pinaniwalaan mo, nag-expect ka lang, nag-create ka lang ng scenario. Hindi talaga sinabi sa'yo ng tao na yon. Inisip mo lang yung inisip niya. Intindihan? We form our views of ourselves based on our perception of how others view us. In other words, we act based on what we think others think about us. For example, kung para sa'yo, bobo ka sa paningin niya, sa iniisip niya, yun yung paniniwalaan mo, bobo ka. Kahit naman hindi niya sinabi. Naintindihan? Okay. Okay, yung looking glass self, this theory can lead to unstable self-identity kasi nga, iniisip mo yung iniisip ng iba. Nagiging too much obsessed sa iniisip ng iba, to the opinion of others. Imbes na mag-focus tayo sa ating authenticity, sa sarili natin. Okay, ano naman yung impression management? Pag sinabing impression management, we can actually change how other people think about us through our actions and reactions. Okay, so pwede tayong magpa-impress. Pwede magbago yung impression ng society sa atin. Meron tayong control through our actions and reactions. For example is yung symbolism ng eyeglasses. Kapag nagsusuot ka daw ng eyeglasses, yung connection or yung meaning na ina-attach sa eyeglasses is smart. So, yung gagawin mo, magsusuot ka ng eyeglasses para sabihin na matalino ka. Yun yung impression na gusto mong mangyari, na ibigay sa'yo ng society, ng mga kaklase mo. Gusto mo, yung impression nila sa'yo is intelligent or smart ka. So, ngayon, mag-uumpisa ka ng magsuot ng eyeglasses. Okay, so ano yung pagkakaiba ng looking glass self and then impression management? Okay, so in looking glass self, since I am wearing glasses, they think that I am a smart person. Iniisip iniisip nila na smart person ako. Okay, I am who I think they think I am. Sa impression management naman, I will wear glasses so that they will think of me as a smart person. Isipin nila syempre na matalino ka sa impression management kasi nga may kakayahan tayong mag-create ng sariling impression. Yung eyeglasses, susuotin nga natin kasi yung symbolism nun is katalinuhan or you are a smart person. Okay, the self in the interaction with technology. Simple lang yung idea dito. Okay, yung interaction natin with technology affects our identity. For example, when a baby watch Cocomelon, nagiging fluent siya in English. Okay, when we watch K-drama then K-pop, parang na-adapt natin yung hairstyle and then fashion. Okay, yung anime, Japanese words, I mean. And then sa social media, nagkakaroon tayo ng digital self. Pag sinabing digital self, we manage our identity online. Pwedeng magkaiba yung real self mo and then digital self kasi nga namamanipulate natin kung ano lang yung ipopost natin online. Pwedeng mag-post tayo ng mga attractive photos pero kabaliktaran naman sa realidad. Pwedeng mag-post tayo ng happy moments pero sad naman talaga tayo. Okay, understood? Okay, another concept is sociological imagination. Pag sinabing sociological imagination, yung proponent doon ay si Wright Mills. So, simple lang. Pag sinabing sociological imagination, we think outside the box. We look at the bigger picture. Kino-connect natin yung personal problem natin sa societal issues. It is the ability to see the connection between personal experiences and the larger social forces. Okay, yung social forces na ito, yun lang naman yung social issues. Okay, or public concern. Okay, for example, kasi nga kinoconnect natin yung personal issues to public concern. Kung may problema ka, sinisisi mo sa societal issues. Hindi mo sinisisi yung sarili mo. For example, yung problema mo, why do I have a hard time in school? Bakit ba naghihirap kang mag-aral? Bakit mahirap sa'yo intindihin yung concept? Sinisisi mo sa public concerns. For example, sinisi mo kasi may lack of classroom, kulang daw yung mga classroom, hindi ka nakakinig ng maayos, ineffective curriculum, mali yung tinuturo, hindi na updated. Another is may language barrier, iba yung language ng teacher, at then iba yung language mo, so hindi kayo nagkakaintindihan, kaya daw, yun yung dahilan, kaya nagkakaroon ka ng hard time in school. Yung personal issues mo, kinonect mo sa public concern. In other words, sinisi mo yung societal issues imbis na sarili mo. Another example is why I am fat. Bakit mataba ka? Or why you are unhealthy? Hindi mo sinisisi yung sarili mo dito. Kino-connect mo sa public concern. Sinisi mo kasi may presence of fast food chains. Okay, sinisi mo pa yung mga fast food chains sa pagiging fat mo. Another is unhealthy foods are cheaper. O dito, sinisi mo pa yung price. Kung bakit unhealthy ka. Okay, yun yung sociological imagination. We connect our personal issues to public concerns. Okay, ano naman yung identity crisis? Yung proponent dito is si Mashones. Pag sinabing identity crisis, nagkakaroon tayo ng struggle to find our individuality. Yung true self natin. Nahirapan tayong hanapin yung individuality natin in a social group. Okay, so Mashones dichotomizes the people into two. Dinivide tayo into two groups. Una, yung traditional directed people. Pag sinabing traditional directed people, ito yung mga magulang natin or mga grandpas or grandma. Sila yung, they do not follow the latest trends and practices. Naging steadfast. They hold to cultural norms. Pina-follow pa rin nila yung mga cultural norms ng society. Hindi sila nagfa-follow sa anong mga latest trends. Contrary sa other directed people, ito yung mga millennials, mga Gen Z, ito naman yung nagfa-follow sa mga latest buzz, sa mga latest trends and practices. Again, yung mga traditional directed people, ano yung ginagawa nila? Nagfa-follow pa rin sila sa mga cultural norms. Yung other directed people naman, nagfa-follow sa latest trends. So, magkaiba yung paniniwala nila, yung lifestyle nila. So, paano tayo nagkakaroon ng identity crisis? For example, gusto mong magpa-ear and body piercings or tattoo. So, alam mo na this is against your cultural norms. Ayaw ng mga lola mo, ayaw ng mga magulang, or grandmas and grandpas mo kasi nga against siya sa cultural norm nyo. So, ano yung gagawin mo? Magkakaroon ka ng contradicting ideas or beliefs kasi nga yung mga kaibigan mo gusto naman na maging katulad kanila. Gusto nila na magkaroon ka ng ear and body piercing para magkaroon ka ng belongingness. So, ngayon, nagkakaroon ka ng inner conflict. Hindi mo alam kung sino yung ifa-follow mo, yung mga magulang mo ba or yung mga kaibigan mo. So, doon ka na nagkakaroon ng identity crisis. Kung i-follow mo yung peer pressure o yung mga kaibigan mo kahit hindi mo naman talaga gusto yung pagkakaroon ng piercing sa body, hindi ka naging totoo. Hindi yung personal choice mo. Yun na yung state ng pagkakaroon ng identity crisis kasi nga hindi natin finalo yung sarili nating choice. Naintindihan? Okay, so in summary, sociological perspective asserts that our sense of self is influenced by the rules and identities assigned to us by society. O nga, na-influensyahan syempre yung sense of self natin. Depende sa mga inattach na rules and identities ng society. For example, yung gender natin, nakaka-apekto to sa sarili natin. Yung race, yung social class natin, lahat to, they can influence our sense of self. So, sociological perspective highlights that individuals develop their self-concept through interactions with other people and by observing how they are perceived. Okay, sabi ko kanina yung sociology, concerned siya sa sa social interactions. Yung self-concept, yung self natin is a product of social interaction in the community with different group of people and different institutions. Okay. Okay, so ngayon nasa lesson 1.3 na tayo, the self in anthropological perspective. Okay, so let us define first what is anthropology. So, yung point lang naman ng anthropology is that the self is a product of culture and the community where a person belongs. So, bunga tayo ng culture. Pag sinabing culture, the way of life ng certain community. So, anthropologists recognize that notions of self vary across different cultures kasi nga yung identity ng isang self or human person iba-iba kasi iba-iba yung culture natin. The world is composed of different countries and then we have different cultures. Even sa Philippines, iba-iba yung culture natin. So, wala tayong definite definition of the self. Kasi iba-iba nga yung culture natin. Iba-iba yung kinagisnan natin na kultura. Okay, so what constitutes a self can be understood in diverse ways. Naintindihan? Hindi dapat tayo magkaroon ng isang unique perspective para maintindihan yung self. Kailangan natin ng holistic approach, hindi lang single approach. Okay? So, sinabi dito, the anthropological perspective emphasizes that self-identity is not fixed. This is correct. Self-identity is not fixed because we are subject to change and negotiation. Hindi nga fixed kasi dadating yung panahon that we will travel, we will migrate, we will work in another places. So yung mangyayari, yung self-identity natin in the concept of anthropology, hindi pa talaga fixed. Meron pang changes. Magkakaroon pa tayo ng interaction with other culture. So ano yung kailangan? So anthropology encourages an empathetic and holistic approach to understanding the self. Ano yung ibig sabihin nito? Yung ibig sabihin nito na dapat maging empathetic tayo. We need to consider the experiences of others. Particularly their culture. That we have difference in culture. Hindi dapat tayo maging ethnocentric. Naintindihan? Hindi dapat tayo maging judgmental sa ibang culture, and then we must use an holistic approach. Pag sinabing holistic approach, we must look at the bigger picture. Intindihin natin yung ibang culture, hindi lang sa perspective natin. Huwag natin i-compare yung culture nila sa culture natin, then hindi tayo magpipay ng respect. Magiging disrespectful tayo. Hindi ganon. Kailangan gumamit tayo ng holistic approach para mas maintindihan natin yung concept ng self. Okay, considering not only individual experiences, sabi ko nga, but also their embeddedness in cultural, social, and historical context. Hindi lang dapat tayo mag-focus sa individual experiences. We must look at the bigger picture, other fields, sa iba pang mga aspect. Okay, para mas maintindihan natin yung concept ng self. Okay, the community where you are raised shapes who you are. Okay, pag sinabing enculturation, yung keyword natin, inside. Simple lang yung concept nito. Individual learns his own culture. For example, kung taga-Tacloban ka, syempre, yung matututunan mo yung culture ng Tacloban. Kung taga-Baybay, yung culture ng Baybay, yung matututunan mo. Enculturation, keyword inside, you learn your own culture. Okay, ito yung mga halimbawa ng enculturation. Ito yung mga bagay na matututunan mo sa culture mo. Una yung language, waray ka kung Tacloban, Baybay is Bisaya. Another is religion, Christianity in the Philippines, Indonesia, Islam. Another is livelihood. For example, is kung nakatira ka sa farm, possible maging baka maging farmer at magiging marunong kang mag-farm. And then kapag sa island or sa tabing dagat, pwedeng matuto kang mangisda. And then another example of enculturation is behaviors, the way you behave. For example, sa island, baka marunong kang lumangoy sa mountainous areas. The way you communicate, kailangan mo pang mag-shout kasi malakas yung hangin. Then sa city, they do things fast kasi nga ma-traffic, kailangan magising ng umaga, kailangan umuwi ng maaga para makasakay. Then sa rural areas naman, more relax. So yung behavior dito, more relax kasi nga hindi gaanong matao. Okay. What is the difference between collective identity versus personal identity? Pag sinabing collective identity, from the word collective, it is a group. a person's sense of belonging to a group. We connect to the patterns of behaviors observed in a culture. Okay, so dito naman, we conform to the society's labels to a certain group. Collective identity means group. Okay, understood? Okay, so ano ba yung halimbawa ng collective identity? For example, is mga OFWs. Okay, yung collective identity nila is hardworking people. Di ba? Parang ito yung definition ng pagiging OFW. They are hardworking. Parang nag-stereotype tayo, nag-generalize tayo. Matik, kapag OFW ka, hardworking ka. So, ano yung gagawin mo kapag magtrabaho ka sa abroad? And then, yung collective identity nyo is being hardworking. Siyempre, yung gagawin mo, magiging hardworking ka kasi yun yung collective identity ng pagiging OFW. Another is yung pagiging Viscans. Yung collective identity ng pagiging Viscan is smart and eco-warrior. So, syempre, as a Viscan, kailangan mag-aral ka ng mabuti. You study hard and then you observe cleanliness kasi ngayon yung collective identity nyo. Okay. Ano naman yung personal identity? Okay, pag sinabing personal identity, personal, ikaw mismo. Ito yung ibang definition nito is building of the self. Personal identity, yung ibig sabihin niya, remember this, building of the self. You build your own identity, yung self mo mismo. So, dito nagkakaroon ka na you reach the point of self-awareness. Pag sinabing self-aware, alam mo yung sarili mo, kilala mo yung sarili mo. You do things which are in line to your beliefs. Here, you will be able to determine how same or different you are with the people around you. And then yung personal identity, it fights stereotyping. Ayaw niya ng generalization or stereotyping. Okay, so for example, ng personal identity is yung culture nyo, wherein yung youngest child will be the one who will do the household chores. Okay, so sa simula, yung bata, ino-normalize niya yung culture na siya yung huhugas ng pinggan, for example, kasi nga yun yung nakalakihan niya. Kala niya, normal lang yun kasi yun yung tinuro ng parent niya. Pero dadating yung panahon na mag-aaral siya at matututunan niya yung concept ng social justice, that things should be fair and equal. So, ano yung mangyayari ngayon? Magkakaroon ng contradicting ideas. Mapapatanong yung bata, syempre, bakit sa bahay? Ako lang palagi yung naggumagawa ng mga gawaing bahay, tapos tinuturo sa paaralan na kailangan fair and equal yung mga gawaing bahay. So, doon, nagkakaroon ng conflicting ideas. At yung nafe-feel mo na yon, patungo na yon sa pagkakaroon mo ng self-awareness or personal identity. Naintindihan? Okay. So, sabi ko kanina, yung personal identity, it fights stereotyping. Pag sinabing stereotyping, you generalize a group of people. For example, yung mga taga Bohol daw, they eat kalamay. Yung Siquijor, they know barang. And then yung Tacloban or Samar, they are angry speakers. So, ito yung stereotyping. So, it is important to note that not all people in Bohol eat kalamay. Not all in Siquijor knows barang. And not all in Tacloban or Samar are angry speakers. So, hindi dapat tayo mag-stereotype. Di nagkakaroon na tayo ng personal identity. Here, you determine how unique you are despite your native culture. So, hindi ibig sabihin na taga Bohol ka talaga, kumakain ka ng kalamay. Yung iba, hindi. Kaya nga, nadidetermine mo kung how same or different you are with your own culture, with your home culture. Naintindihan? Okay, ano naman ngayon yung acculturation? When we say enculturation, di ba, inside, you learn your own culture. Pag sinabing acculturation naman, you learn other culture. Yung keyword dito, outside. So, ano yung ginagawa? Bakit kailangan mo matuto ng another culture? Yung ginagawa mo dito, you travel, you work, or mag-grade. Kasi hindi mo naman matututo ka lang ng ibang culture kung lumipat ka ng lugar or nakapag may pumunta sa inyo na iba yung nakagisnan na culture. Naintindihan? Okay. Pero yung acculturation, remember that it is important to note that acculturation does not require rejection of your home culture. Hindi ibig sabihin na matututo ka ng ibang culture, kakalimutan mo na yung home culture mo. Hindi ganon. Matututo ka lang ng another culture para makasabay ka, para hindi ka maging outcast, para hindi ka maging deviant. Kailangan mo lang mag-conform. Okay, for example ng acculturation, you are a student from Maasin who decided to study in VSU Baybay. At first, you still carry your cultural baggage. Ano ba yung cultural baggage? Ito yung mga culture na dala-dala mo from your home culture. For example, kung taga Maasin ka, yung mga culture mo galing sa Maasin, dala-dala mo pa rin. Tawag doon, cultural baggage. At first, you will act as if you are still in Maasin. Siyempre, kung first day, hindi ka agad mag-act as if taga-baybay ka na. Mag-act ka pa rin as if taga-Maasin ka. Okay, for you are not familiar with the place of direction. You as a Viscan, maadyong adlaw asa ang baybajon. So, dito, mapapansin mo yung differences ng paggamit ng Y and J. So, sa Southern Leyte and Bohol, gumagamit sila ng J, then sa Baybay, Y. Okay, so, example to ng cultural baggage na dala ng student from Maasin, yung the way he speak, J and Y. Okay, gumagamit pa rin siya ng J. So, this is cultural baggage. However, as times goes by, the student was able to learn the words of bye-byes. Natuto na siya magbisaya talaga. Yung Y yung J nagiging Y na. Pero, hindi ibig sabihin na nakalimutan niya na yung paggamit ng J. He still carry his own culture. So ngayon, yung pagkatuto niya ng bye-bye words, yun ay process ng acculturation. Natutunan niya yung other culture or yung language. Another example of acculturation is, you are an OFW in Korea. You have learned how to use chopsticks, but you still know how to use spoon or fork. So, this is acculturation. Natuto ka lang mag-chopsticks, pero hindi ibig sabihin na hindi mo na alam gumamit ng kutsara at tinidor. So, ano yung pagkakaiba ng culture shock then reverse culture shock? Pag sinabi natin culture shock, ito yung feelings of uncertainty or confusion that people may experience when moving to a new place. Ito yung literal na shock. So, parang naninibago ka sa panibagong culture. For example, you want to go to the lower campus. You ask someone, what vehicle should I ride going there? He responded, no, just walk unless you have a motorcycle. So, na-shock ka kasi sa Maasin, sanay ka na sumasakay. Then dito, sinabi sa'yo na kailangan lang maglakad. So, yun yung culture shock. Na-shock ka lang. Okay, so ano naman yung reverse culture shock? Pag sinabi nating reverse culture shock, na-shock ka naman sa home culture mo. Sa sarili mong culture. For example, galing ka sa Baybay, then nagstay ka sa VISC, naging students ka sa Baybay for almost 4 years. Nung bumalik ka sa Maasin, sinabihan ka ng mama mo, maadyong umaga sa'yo. Then, nung narinig mo yung maadyo, na-shock ka. Kasi nasanay ka na sa maayo, yun yung reverse culture shock. Parang nasanay ka na sa another culture, na-shock ka sa sarili mong culture. Yun yung reverse culture shock. Again, pag sinabing culture shock, na-shock ka sa other culture. Reverse culture shock, na-shock ka sa home culture mo. So, ano naman yung assimilation? Ano yung difference ng assimilation and then acculturation? Kung sa acculturation, you learn other culture without the rejection of your home culture. Sa assimilation naman, you use other culture. Natuto ka ng another culture pero mas extreme siya kasi you decide to forget practicing the original, your own culture, and you fully adapt to another culture. For example is, you are a Filipino family in Korea, you are an immigrant. And then, yung paggamit ng chopsticks, inadapt nyo na talaga. Inabandon nyo na yung paggamit ng spoon and fork. Yun yung assimilation, yung pagkakaiba niya sa acculturation. Kasi nga, iniwan niya na talaga. Inabandon na nila yung paggamit ng fork and spoon. They adapt to the dominant culture. Okay, so ito. The more you travel, the more cultural baggage you carry. Kasi nga, kung palipat-lipat tayo ng lugar, mas dumadami yung cultural baggage natin. Marami tayong culture na natututunan, nagiging mix tayo. Kaya sinabi dito, we become a hybrid of culture and that's perfectly normal. Pag sinabing hybrid, we are a mixture of different cultures. It is part of our life journey and identity. In anthropological perspective, your culture is not as pure as your community's collective identity. Pag sinabing not as pure, hindi na nga pure kasi nga you travel na, nahaluan na, you became a hybrid. You encounter or learn different culture through the process of enculturation, acculturation, and assimilation. I mean, not enculturation, but acculturation and assimilation. So, you have to understand that you are a product of different cultures. So, now, lipat naman tayo sa last topic in Module 1, which is the self in psychological perspective. Pag sinabing psychology, it is the discipline in understanding the self, that studies the self by investigating the individual person's behavior and cognitive processes. Again, yung keyword, behavior and then cognitive processes. Pag sinabing cognitive, it is within, inside our mind. So, ibig sabihin yung psychology, it is concerned on how people think, act, and feel. Remember, think, paano tayo mag-isip, paano tayo mag-behave, and ano yung nafe-feel natin. Yun yung psychology. Okay. So, the psychological perspective emphasizes the role of individual cognitive processes in shaping self-identity. Sabi ko nga kanina, yung psychology, concerned siya sa cognitive processes kung ano yung nasa mind natin. So, kung ano yung nasa mind natin, nakaka-contribute yon in shaping our self-identity. Psychology acknowledges that individual differences in personality traits and psychological characteristics contributes to variations in self-identity. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng variations in self-identity. Nagkakaiba-iba tayo dahil sa iba-iba yung personality traits natin and psychological characteristic kasi nga, we are unique individuals. Hindi pare-pareho yung personality natin, yung characteristic natin. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng variations in self-identity. Okay, so ano yung pagkakaiba ng personality and then attitude versus self? Pag sinabing personality, it is the set of qualities or ways of behaving that makes a person different from other people. So, ito yung mga qualities natin na nagiging ito yung parang nagkakaroon tayo ng uniqueness kasi iba nga yung personality natin, yung set of qualities natin compared to others. So, when we say personality, it is a defining and more enduring construct of a person. Pag sinabing more enduring, it lasts long, nagtatagal yan. For example, yung personality, pwede siyang magtagal. Pagtanda natin, meron pa rin tayong the same personality. So, ano yung mga halimbawa ng personality? For example, appreciative, gentle, adventurous, intelligent, creative, and then generous. So, pwede pagdanda natin, adventurous pa rin tayo. Kaya sinabi dito na more enduring construct of a person. More enduring, it lasts long. Okay. Ano naman yung attitude? Pag sinabing attitude is a position or emotion or opinion one has towards someone or something. So, parang madali lang yung compared sa personality which is more enduring, yung attitude, position lang natin or emotion lang towards a certain event. For example, ayaw natin ng mathematics subject, so nagkakaroon tayo ng negative outlook sa math subject. And then, ayaw natin sa certain person, so reaction lang natin yon, attitude lang natin towards someone or something. Hindi siya more enduring, hindi siya nagtatagal. Emotion lang siya in a specific event. So, yung attitude parang reaction lang. Naintindihan? Okay, reaction lang natin. Yung personality is a set of qualities that makes us unique. Yung attitude, again, position, emotion, or opinion lang. Okay. So, yung self naman is the essence of a person. Ano yung essence ulit? Yung essence, it is what makes a things it is. Ano ba yung bumubuo sa isang bagay? Okay. So, yung self daw, it encompasses both personality and attitude. So, may personality na, may attitude pa. Okay, so the self, it is the sense of personal identity and who we are as individuals. So, according to William James, remember, William James, the self is divided into two. There are two sides of the self, the I self and the me self. Pag sinabi nating I self, ito yung thinking self. Internal, nasa loob ng utak natin. Ito yung nagtithink, nagre-reflect, nag-a-act, nag-feel, and nag-believe. Okay, pag sinabing I self, internal, sa loob. Ito yung thinking self. So, yung I self, kasi nag-iisip siya, siya ay, self-aware. Alam niya kung sino or ano siya. Self-aware siya. Kaya tinawag din siyang pure ego. May consciousness. Okay, ano naman yung me self? Pag sinabing me self, ito yung empirical self. Ito naman yung part ng self natin na nakaka-experience. So, external. Siya yung nakaka-experience ng mga bagay-bagay. And then, yung me self, meron pang subcategories nito. Una ay ang material self, pangalawa social self, and then the spiritual self. Pag sinabi nating material self, hindi lang ibig sabihin ng mga bagay ito. Kasali dito yung family natin, our home, our friends. Hindi lang bagay. Di ba yung concept kanina ng symbolic interaction ni Sam, hindi lang tayo nag-attach ng meaning sa mga bagay, pati rin sa mga tao. Parang sa myself din, hindi lang mga bagay. Including din yung family, yung friends natin. Kasali sila sa material self. So what did you feel when you lost someone or something precious to you? Diba? Yung nafe-feel natin, nalulungkot tayo kasi nga importante yung bagay or tao na nawala sa atin. Yun yung material self, things and people. Okay. Ano naman yung social self? The social self is best understood when we observe how we act in a given social situation. Paano daw tayo nag-a-act kung nasa certain event tayo? For example, kung nakakasalamuhan natin is yung mga teacher, syempre nagbe-behave tayo ng maayos, behave tayo, quiet tayo. Pero kung kasama natin is mga kaibigan lang, nagiging talkative tayo, nagiging introvert tayo, nagiging more expressive tayo compared sa mga taong professional. Naintindihan? Okay. Yung spiritual self naman, it refers to the most intimate and most important part of the self. So, sa tatlo, sa material, social, and spiritual yung pinaka-importante and most intimate. Bakit kaya? Kasi dito naman sa spiritual, dito makikita yung purpose natin. Ano ba yung purpose natin sa life? Ano yung motibo natin? Yung emotions natin, yung values natin, ano ba yung mga morally upright behaviors, dito din yung conscience, yung konsensya, and then moral behavior. So, sa spiritual self, dito tayo nag-recreate ng meaning of life. Ano ba yung kahulugan ng buhay natin? Okay, ngayon naman let us differentiate real self versus ideal self. Pag sinabing real self, ito yung it is who we actually are. It is how we think, how we feel, look, and act. So remember, pag sinabing real self, it comprise all facets of your being. Lahat ng experience natin, paano tayo mag-isip, how we feel, how we look, how we act, lahat yon ay parte ng real self. For example, if one believes that he or she is a punctual and good behavior, punctuality and goodness become components of the real self. Siyempre, kung tingin mo, lagi kang early, and then punctual ka, and then mabait kang tao, then yun yung totoong self mo. Yun, naging party siya ng real self mo. So, ano naman yung ideal self? Yung ideal self, ito naman, remember, it is who you wish you are. Ito yung wini-wish mo na meron ka. For example, ito yung mga traits or qualities na ina-aspire mo to have, na gusto mong ma-attain. For example, it could be the traits of people you look up. For example, yung mga celebrity idols mo or social media influencers, meron silang mga qualities na gusto mong ma-develop sa sarili mo. So, yun yung ideal self mo. For example, another example is it could be also be what your parents find desirable. Ano ba yung gusto ng pamilya mo na maging ikaw? For example, gusto nila maging masunurin ka and then responsible. So, magiging part to ng ideal self mo. Okay, so ano yung mangyayari kapag malaki yung gap? There's a huge gap between the ideal and real self. So, magkakaroon tayo ng incongruence or lack of alignment. Kasi merong malaking gap. Ano yung possible result ng incongruence na ito? Magkakaroon ng mental distress or anxiety. And then yung mental distress or anxiety na ito, naliling to sa cognitive dissonance. Yung cognitive dissonance, ano naman to? It is an extreme feeling of discomfort arising from contradicting thoughts, beliefs, and actions. At pag sinabi natin cognitive dissonance, Bibigay ako ng halimbawa. You want to get flat 1 grade but you don't exert effort, hindi ka nag-i-study. So, mataas yung cognitive dissonance mo. Ang ibig sabihin ng cognitive dissonance, nangangarap ka ng isang bagay pero hindi mo naman ginagawa. Hindi ka nag-i-exert ng effort. For example, nga, gusto mong makapasa pero you stay in mediocrity, hindi ka nag-study. Another example is gusto mong maging healthy pero hindi ka naman nag-exercise, and then hindi ka kumakain ng masustansyang pagkain. So, paano ka magiging healthy? So, doon, nagkakaroon ka ng cognitive dissonance. Another is, sabi mo hindi ka na mag-smoke, hindi ka na iinom, pero umiinom ka pa rin. Tapos, nagiging guilty ka. So, mataas talaga yung cognitive dissonance mo. Kasi nga, meron kang wini-wish pero iba naman yung ginagawa mo. Hindi ka nagkakaroon ng strict planning. Okay. In this context of ideal and real self, how can we avoid cognitive dissonance? Paano ba natin ma-avoid yung cognitive dissonance? O yung gagawin lang natin, i-realign natin, i-reset. Dapat yung ideal self natin, it is something attainable and desirable. If not desirable, something attainable or achievable, not achievable. Nagkamali lang ako magsalita. Dapat yung ideal self mo, it is something attainable and achievable. Dapat malapit siya sa real self mo. Hindi naman mangangarap ng sobra-sobra na impossible talaga. Dapat maliit lang yung gap. Hindi impossible na ma-reach yung ideal self mo. Okay. Ngayon naman, let us differentiate proactive versus reactive. So, itong idea to ni Albert Bandura, yung the self as proactive and agentic. Idea ulit ni Albert Bandura. So, ano yung pagkakaiba ng proactive versus reactive? Pag sinabing proactive, ibig sabihin, we plan ahead of time. We take initiative. Hindi na tayo naghihintay na mangyari pa yung isang bagay. Nagpla-plan na tayo ahead of time. Di ba alam nyo yung prevention is better than cure? So, nagpre-prevent na tayo na anong ginawa natin? Nagpre-prevent na tayo na mangyari yung mga masasamang consequences. Kaya nagpla-plan na tayo ahead of time. For example, gusto nating makapasa. So, mag-study na tayo week before the examination. And then, ano naman yung reactive? Pag sinabing reactive, yung ginagawa mo? Magre-react ka lang kung nandyan na yung bagay nangyari na. Parang nagpro-procrastinate ka. Hindi ka nag-plan ahead of time. Gumagawa ka na ng isang bagay kasi nandyan na. Yan yung pagiging reactive. Okay, ano naman yung agentic? Pag sinabi nating agentic, simple lang, we are capable of achieving our desired outcomes. We are agents of our life. We are capable of achieving our dreams. May kakayahan tayo. Kung ano yung gusto natin, na mga pangarap, mga goals, meron tayong kakayahan na ma-achieve yun. Okay, so may apat na core features ang human agency. Core features of the human agency. Una, ang intentionality. Pag sinabing intentionality, committing proactively to the course of action you wish to undertake. Okay, so lahat tayo may intention, may purpose. Bakit ginagawa natin yung isang desisyon, yung isang bagay? For example, nag-aral tayo kasi yung intention natin makapagtapos, makapagtrabaho. So, yun yung intentionality. We committing proactively to the course of action you wish to undertake. Meron tayong intention. Nagiging proactive tayo. Nagiging futuristic. We plan ahead of time. Okay. Ano naman yung forethought? Pag sinabi nating forethought, ina-anticipate or we expect the possible consequences of our action. For example, gusto nating makapasa. Then yung possible consequences? Kung hindi tayo mag-aral, hindi tayo papasa. Kung mag-aral tayo ng mabuti, mag-study, papasa tayo. So, yun yung forethought. We anticipate or expect the possible consequences. Okay, ano naman yung self-reactiveness? Pag sinabing self-reactiveness, dito naman yung person nagme-make na ng choices. Dito na tayo gumagawa ng action plan. Yung action plan natin, kinakandak na natin, ginagawa na natin. For example, gusto na nating makapasa. Ano yung gagawin natin? Dito na tayo mag-study na tayo, mag-group study, magsusulat na tayo ng mga concept na lalabas sa exam. So, yun yung self-reactiveness. We make choices. And then, the last one is self-reflectiveness. So, from the word reflect, nagre-reflect tayo. We are self-examiners. As individuals, we are considered self-examiners. Chine-check natin yung mga result. So, for example, kanina, meron na tayo sa self-reactiveness, ginawa na natin yung mga actions natin, in-apply na natin. So, sa self-reflectiveness, ina-analyze natin kung naging effective ba yung mga actions natin or hindi. For example, kung nag-study ka, na malaki ba yung score mo? Kung hindi, ina-assist natin or chine-check natin yung plans of action natin. Ano ba yung dapat natin baguhin para sa susunod, maging malaki talaga yung score natin. Kaya sinabi dito, we are self-examiners under sa self-reflectiveness. So, that could be all sa psychological perspective. So, good luck on your midterm examination.